like I've done mine good. All right, let's kick in.
All right, fantastic. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Learn with Google, discovering history, culture, and language with Google for Education. Let's kick off. We're going to keep it reasonably short today because we have things to do, people to see, right?
We definitely do, Chris. We definitely do.
Over to you.
Cheers, mate. Kia ora whanau, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Kia paputunuku tēnā koe, ki te whare tēnā koe, ki te tupuna tēnā koe, tēnā koutou katoa ti hei mauri ora. Awesome. Thank you and welcome everyone in. And also, yeah, obviously like to pay respects to Ngā Iwi Māori as the traditional custodians of our land and the tangata whenua of Aotearoa. And we are committed to upholding the principles and partnerships of Te Tiriti. So welcome.
Thank you. And to my folk back in Australia, we would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet, wherever it is for you, and whose cultures and customs have nurtured and continue to nurture the land that we live on in Australia. We honour the presence of the ancestors who reside in the imagination of this land. And the lovely illustrations there that were done for us by the Ngangala Creative Group, illustrating some of the different countries around Australia. All right, just by way of introduction, there's the Google for Education team. I know many of you on this call know many of the people on this screen, but as we said before with the recording, I'm Chris. I'm the Adoption Program Manager for Australia and New Zealand.
And I'm Steve, the New Zealand Education Lead. That's pretty much it.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right. So quick agenda today. We're going to talk about just a couple of things. And because we're focusing on culture and language, we figured it'd be kind of cool to talk about some of the cool things in Google Arts and Culture, some of the neat things you can do with Google Translate, and kind of an offshoot from Translate is Google Lens. So we're going to look at a few things you can do with Lens, and then the usual what's new with Google. And there's actually a few cool things we need to talk about this month that have happened in the last 4 weeks. So sorry about my very basic slide designs this week. It was up very late last night trying to do things. But Arts and Culture at Google. So it's an amazing website that Google runs where we collect all sorts of references to history, culture, geography, just cool, interesting stuff. And we're going to take you through some of those things. We'll look at the experiments, and there's 3 that I'm going to call out, Steve. One's called the Geo Artwork. 3D pottery, and you wanted to talk about one called Woolaroo.
I'd look at Woolaroo, yeah.
Yep, but also just to point out what's actually in the Arts and Culture Centre. Talk figures, historical places, events, artists, mediums, collections, themes, and so on. And there's a couple of things I want to point out too about checking your settings, creating a profile, and tracking your achievements. So I'm just going to come out of there and go over here to Arts and Culture. And the easiest way to find it sometimes is just Google it. So I just Googled Arts and Culture, and it brings me to this, artsandculture.google.com. So when you come into the Arts and Culture website, it's like a massive collection. This started life as a thing called the Art Project at Google. And the original intent was to just create virtual presences for a number of art galleries. And it's just grown way, way, way beyond that. And now it's a general reference tool for all sorts of museums and galleries and collections around the world. And if you just scroll down on this front page here, you'll see there's lots and lots of interesting things to look at. I'm going to start by looking at this one called Geo Artwork, which I was having a play with recently, and I thought it was kind of interesting.
It's terrible.
What you doing? What you doing, Mr. Smith?
I'm going to join later on that one.
So Geo Artwork, some of you may have seen a thing before called GeoGuessr, which was a game you can play on Google Maps where you it'd show you a Street View image and you had to guess where in the world that image came from by using visual clues. This is a similar kind of idea. And instead, it gives you a piece of artwork, and you have to guess where that artwork comes from. Just before I dive in, I just want to point to these 2 little buttons right here on the screen. The little heart button, if I click that, obviously it adds it to my favorites in my profile because I like it. And I'll show you where that shows up in a sec. And then next to that is a share button. And when you hit the share button, you can share it to all sorts of places. So if you want to push out this particular artifact inside the Arts and Culture Centre, you can push it out, share it on the usual social suspects, Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and so on. But I like the fact that it's here in Classroom. So if you wanted to push this out to your kids in Classroom, one button click, if you click that button, it'll pop up the Classroom share dialog box there. You choose your class from the list. So I'll stick it in my demonstration class, and then you choose what you want to do with it. So you can create an assignment or ask a question about it or so on. So really, really easy to find something in arts and culture and just push it out to your kids so they can have a interaction with it. Let's have a look at this game. I'm going to click the play game button here, and we can do all sorts of things. So, you might be a textiles teacher. Okay, well, there's actually a textile thing in here. So you can sort of look at clothing around the world or particular places around the world. I used to be a visual arts teacher, so I'm going to choose visual arts, and let's see what we get. So here, oh gosh, I've got no idea. I can see an Egyptian mummy there. I'm going to guess it's somewhere in Egypt. So I'm going to take my little pin here and drop it in Egypt. And then I can hit my guess button and it'll tell me how close I am. Actually, that's pretty good.
That's pretty
close. I was only 878 kilometers away, which on the big global scheme of things is not too bad. The correct location was Palestine. But I earned 80 points. Let's do the next round. Where was this made? That looks like a whole bunch of banana skins or some sort of skins of something. I'm going to guess it's probably Polynesian. So let's I'm going to go Papua New Guinea.
Nice.
Let's try that and see what we get. So they say guess. Oh, it's way out. Guatemala.
Wow.
No, Mexico. Campeche in Mexico. So that was a terrible one. I didn't get many points for that, only 2 points. So you can keep playing like this. And I think it's a really interesting little game to play. I'm using visual arts. You could do other things as well. I think the clothing one's an interesting one. The places one's interesting, because what you're really looking for is clues in the artworks to try and tip you off as to what that might be. I have no idea about this one whatsoever. I'm going to guess somewhere in the US. So I'll drop a pin there and just see. Yeah, no, Ghana. I'm way out, way out. So I might start again. Anyway, so if you start again, it will give you the points. I think places might be an easier one. Or you can do it all and have a mix of them. So that's one example of one of the sort of the games, if you like, inside arts and culture. I think it's useful things inside a classroom. Did you want to jump in and show one of your favourites?
Yeah, I'm just. Oh, here we go. I'm just waiting for Woolaroo to load. It's not playing nicely at the moment.
Oh, I've probably got it here if you want me to jump in.
Yeah, go on, do that.
All right, no worries. I think I might have actually put a link in the slide. No, I didn't. I just mentioned it.
Yes, you did.
I did mention it. So I'm going to come up here to the search button and search for Woolaroo. I probably spelled that wrong. I did. Woolaroo.
Yes.
How do I spell it?
Double O.
Yeah.
Double O L A R double O.
Woolaroo.
Woolaroo.
There it is. So it's this one, Woolaroo. Preserving languages with machine learning. So, Steve, I will drive, seeing I've got the screen, but you talk me through it.
Yeah, so some of you may have seen that we talked before about the Kupu app, which is a New Zealand built app, which uses your camera to look at images, look at things out there, and it gives you the Māori word for it. And this has been kind of expanded upon in this experiment, where you're looking specifically at words in your local area. So if you just have a click into that top one there where it says step into the Māori word, just scroll down a little bit.
Where was that?
Keep scrolling. There you go. Just click into that first one there. So this gives you a whole lot of information around different Indigenous languages. And the idea here is to help preserve those languages and also to help people learn about them. So you can kind of look at a lot of Indigenous art and history in here. And also, as a part of this, if you're doing it on your phone, it will allow you to use your camera to have a look at different objects around you and identify them in different languages.
It actually works on the computer. Look, if I go, I think it's the play button here. If I go to the, where is it? Oh, did I get out of there? I was playing with this yesterday. Where did I do? Where did I put it? Sorry.
So if you if you jump down and let it launch, it will give you the ability to keep scrolling. So there's a whole, there we go. So that's it. Yeah. And so what the idea here is, let's learn a traditional language with machine learning. So what it does is it will take a photo of something and it will tell you, you can choose one of these languages across here, and it will tell you what that thing is in that language. And it's a really nice thing in that you can talk about what AI is, but also it's part of a machine learning thing where you can feed back with words as well if you know that language. So a really awesome tool to have a look at, especially if you are using it mobile, or if you've got a camera on your Chromebook that's world facing, for instance, so it looks like that. And if you click the
So I was playing with this. Like I can take a photo of myself, like you do like that.
Yeah.
And what it does is that it analyzes that photo. But you can hold an object up in front of the screen, and when it finishes its a little analysis like that, it actually says some of the things it's picked up here, like a wrinkle. Thanks very much for that, Google. So apparently the Māori word for wrinkle is rehenga.
Rehenga, yeah.
Rehenga.
Yeah.
A smile is a
mini.
many. It looks like I might be happy, so it's a
Hardcore. There you go.
hardcore.
So, and the nice thing about this is that you can kind of talk about how AI works and that you're selecting what it is, because it's those lots of suggestions it gives you. Yeah, I got beard, snow, and jaw. So it's still snow in the background. So a really great one of those experiments that you can use to help preserve culture. So I think I could spend days playing with it.
So if I was to hold up a bottle, for example, is that gonna work?
Yeah, it should do.
How do I get back out? I go back.
Yeah.
All right. So hold up a bottle.
Let's say juice bottle.
Take a photo.
Juice bottle. I know it's 5:30 in New Zealand, but that is definitely a bottle of juice.
Bottle. So the bottle then is
Pounamu, in fact.
Pounamu.
Interesting.
Pounamu. So yeah. So if you're looking at exploring the ideas of languages, Woolaroo in the arts and culture is actually kind of interesting. Check it out.
So there was a question in there about the languages. I'm just going to jump back to the languages there. If you just go back one, Chris. And you go, so you can scroll across down the middle there, and you can have a look at all the different languages that are in there as well.
I like how they kind of like lesser known languages.
Yes.
Not that Maori's lesser known. I suppose outside New Zealand it is.
Totally, yeah.
But things like Louisiana Creole and some of these ones that I actually have not heard of. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so a really great, and the idea there again is to help preserve those languages for different people. So a really cool little resource there that you can have a look at. And again, yeah, whenever I talk about arts and culture, I always say to people, get a coffee, get comfortable, clear some time, because you're going to spend some time in here.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm just going to go back to arts and culture, if I can get that back that far. Where am I? I'm in the wrong window. That's where I want to go. So the other little cool thing that I found in arts and culture, and there's so much in here, you can really explore a whole bunch of stuff, is this one called 3D pottery. And again, I used to be an art teacher, so I found this a bit interesting. When you're doing, like, talking about pottery with students and looking at the different cultures and how different cultures have expressed their culture through pottery over the years. If I click on this, it actually gives you little puzzles you can do. So, like, I want to make this terracotta amphora, which is a type of jar that the ancient Greeks used. This particular one is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But if I hit recreate that pot, let's go. What it does is it gives me a virtual lump of clay, and I can, if I click outside the lump of clay, I can sort of rotate it and look at it from different angles. But then if I touch it with my mouse, I can actually start to do.
Should we play that terrible song from Ghost right now?
So basically, you sort of. So the first job is to create the hole in the middle. Right? So that's what I'm trying to do, but it's not. Okay, there we go. So. There you go. So I've created the hole in the middle. Next thing I go to the sculpture stage. So now I need to try and make it look like that pot on the outside. So I'm going to just do that. And I don't know if you guys have ever actually done real pottery or not, but it's harder than it looks.
Yeah.
And actually, this is not that much easier. So once you sort of come in here and you sort of sort your pottery out. When you finish sculpting, then you can do that. Then you can add your handle. So I'm going to add a handle. I'm going to make a handle go from there to there. And I want to duplicate that on the other side. So there you go. There's my rather not very good amphora pot that I've just made. And then the last step is you can come up here and you can paint it. So
nice.
You've got to be a bit patient with it. You get your colour and you sort of hold it there and let the brush go around.
Nice. I like the fact I really like the fact it's got like shadows on there as well. So
I know, right? It's really, the 3D is actually pretty cool. And I need to splash a bit of orange on here. So you just come up here and I don't know, just put a few squiggles of that. And then once you've done it and you say finish painting, it puts it in the virtual kiln for you like that.
Nice.
And fires it away. And then it gives you a score to tell you how well you did. So
57.
This is like 57 out of 100.
That's a pass, right?
So it's a pass. Yeah. 50's a pass and 51's too much work. That's how it works.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So So 3D pottery, again, that's a nice way of exploring culture. There was a lot of, especially ancient cultures, where the pottery is really all we know about some of these ancient cultures, because it's kind of one of the few things that survives. So that is some cool stuff from arts and culture.
Nice.
All right. You're going to talk about, where we are going to talk about, just some other things in arts and culture before we leave that. Arts and culture, right? I just want to point out a couple of things in arts and culture that you might want to do, and that is in the 3 dots menu on the left-hand side, there's a thing here called your profile. And you remember the first thing I showed you, I clicked the little heart button to like it. When you create a profile, anything you like actually shows up in your profile. So any museums that you want to like, or topics, or themes, or anything that you visit inside the gallery here, just as soon as you like it, it goes into your collection. So nice and easy to create sub collections. There's thousands of things inside arts and culture, and you can just obviously pull out the ones you like. That shows up here in your favorites list, by the way. So that's that. But just looking down here, as you play around in arts and culture, you get achievement badges for doing stuff.
Yes.
So if I look at my achievement badges here, you can see there's still a lot I haven't got, but I've been an art inspector because I've checked out some art, I've explored the museums, I've earned different badges for doing different things, but I've still got lots to earn. But again, it's a nice little just gamification of the arts and culture thing there, so that kids can interact with it and have a bit of fun with it. If you scroll down, you can see you're dividing up here into things like particular artists or particular mediums. So if you wanted to look at, say, watercolors, you can come in here and look at, I'm sure watercolor will be in here somewhere. There's clay, so I'll go back to clay.
Why not?
So, say I'm doing that unit of work on pottery with my kids, I can browse here through all different sort of clay works that are all in the collection. And sort of there's lots and lots of stuff in here, different mediums. And when you see something you like, you just click on it, takes you to that thing wherever it happens to be in the collection, and you can learn more about it. I do like the fact that these little things, they have the little magnifying glass on the side there, because generally all of these will be quite high resolution images. So when you zoom right in, you can get really, really close.
So that must be Mosaic then.
Yeah.
Look at me knowing about art.
Look at you. Look at you. I think that's the ancient word for pixel.
Gotcha.
All right. So that's pretty much arts and culture. Like Steve said, it's just one of those places. Set aside some time and just go exploring. There's just lots and lots to see in there.
Totally.
Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is translation or languages. And like languages generally, we touched on languages there when we were talking about Uluru.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Translate?
Yes, I mean, I think a lot of us will be familiar with Translate, and again, it's a really great mobile app where you can use your camera. And one of the things I talk about with this is, take a photo of when you get a car and you open the door and you want to know about your tire pressure, and it's all written. Well, my car, it's written in Japanese. That's where it came from, and I have no idea what it says. So hold your camera up there, auto translate it for you. Also, if you have those cars that have the stereos and they've got the Japanese instruction on them, hold your camera up there to it and auto translate it. And it's a really nice tool to be able to use. That's kind of just a bit of a fun one. But this one as well, with the translate function, you can use the spoken bit. So again, if you had your mobile device, hold it, someone will speak in a different language, and it can actually record it and give you that instant translation as well. So because I know that Chris can speak Esperanto, let's see if we can test this out. So if we go down to your voice here,
Esperanto is not a supported language. So not every language is supported. But if I go to English and say, let's do between English and say French.
Yep.
And I don't speak French either, but I know 3 words in French, right? So I'm going to clear that out. So if I say hello, how are you? Then on the other side, it says bonjour, comment ça va? And if I switch those around to the other way, and I was to clear those out, if I say it in French, does this
go on? Let's see.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Look at that.
So it goes back the other way as well. So that's the limit of my French. I have just reached the limit of my French, but you can see how that works. Now, where it gets really much more interesting is, so there's some options across the top here. So for example, if I go to this document, actually, let's do this. I'm going to go to a French newspaper, Le Monde, right? So I go to this French newspaper, which is right there, and because it's actually giving me the English translation. But let's look at the French version of Le Monde, right? So let's say I found an article in here in French and I can't read it. So maybe this one here.
Do you know what you're clicking on? Because it's French.
I have no idea what I'm clicking on. Now, what I was playing around with, Steve, what I figured, I've got this extension on my Chrome here called Mercury Reader, and here's a little tip for you: if you're looking at a website and it's full of ads and all this sort of stuff that's really distracting on the screen, what Mercury Reader does is it simplifies the page. And what I've worked out is that it even simplifies it in another language, which I didn't realize.
Oh, okay.
Right. So now I've got a much simpler version of this. What I've then realized is if I take that URL and go over to Google Translate and say website and drop that website address in there and do that, then what it does is it opens a new tab and gives me, if I just get rid of this thing, I don't know what it says, it's in French. I'm going to say yes. Oh, it didn't translate for me. Because it's that one.
It's that one.
It still didn't translate for me. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I'm sure that worked.
Is it back in the Translate tab?
I'm sure that worked for me.
Because you can either do it with that, and there's also the Google Translate extension you can put in there as well, which you can choose to translate those pages as well.
Right. Well, let's do that. I'll do that instead. So I'm looking at the French one here. So I've got the Google Translate extension installed.
Oh, actually, if you go back to the other tab,
yeah.
So go back to the right-hand side one that's been translated.
Yeah.
You scroll down through there.
Yeah.
Now, I think interestingly, the one you had at the beginning, because your previous one you've actually got from English to Māori. So I noticed that there were a whole lot of Māori words on there. So it's tried to translate the French into Māori and picked out the English word it knows. So that's why I think on your other Google Translate page, that one there,
right,
you might be going to English to Māori. Yeah, so I think Māori, so. That's what it's actually trying to translate a French page from English.
So
into
I want
Māori.
to go from French to English. So that
there we go. Let's try that. Go back to your website again, then drop back in again.
Let's try that. Okay. So accept and continue.
Continue. There you go.
And now it's taken that page and it's actually turned it into the English version.
So there we go.
Yay! Yeah. It did work. Okay, I just wasn't paying attention. But yeah, if you on the French versions, as long as you've got the Google Translate extension it's installed from the Chrome Web Store, then you can actually go to an article in another language. And like, for example, I speak Esperanto, but I still strike a lot of words I don't know. Right. And what I'm finding is that if you come across something in another language, that you can click on the word and click on that little button there, and it will, if I do that, it will pop up a link. Oh. I don't know what deconjugalization is, so that's not a good example. Let's do this one. So beneficiation is benefiting. Don't tell any French person I just said it like that. So yeah, let's do this. I'm going to go eo.wikipedia.org. So this is the Esperanto version of Wikipedia. Okay. Did you know there was one?
Did not know that.
There was one. So you can come to an Esperanto page and you can say, well, what's this word? Kunlaboreo. I know it means collaboration.
Okay.
Right. But if you don't know that, you can click on that, click a little button, and it tells you it means collaboration.
Nice.
So, yeah, so really handy to have that if you are partly a speaker of another language. You can sort of get those little hints and tips.
Nice.
Yeah, and did you want to? What are you doing there?
What am I doing there?
Yeah.
No, not much. With your translate as well, I mean, you can do that, and there's that way to do it. And I know that we're going to have a quick chat about Google Lens, which also has that built in. But if you go back on that Wikipedia page, or just there,
yeah.
So Lens, are you going to have a Lens on your phone?
I can do. Yeah, I was going to. Can I put my phone up on the screen though? Yeah,
if you do a screen share, we can do that. So there are a couple of different ways we can use Lens, and I know that if you right click on a, oops, I've just opened it up. Let's go back again. Things are going well. Let's do an alt click on that one. You notice that what pops down is search image with Google Lens. So Google Lens, which we'll come to in a minute, is actually built in to this as well. So if I click on that,
I didn't know that.
what it's going to do is it pops up a whole of Google Lens images on the right-hand side. So what it does is look, well, it's found the exact one there. So you can find the image source at the top. So if you are looking for something that is specific to a separate culture, you want to know what that thing is, right click on it. And I'm just realizing we probably shouldn't be sharing that picture. So you can have a look at something and you can actually check it with Google Lens. That's right, we'll edit that out in post-production. And so this gives you a whole lot of information. Up the top, you'll notice there is text and there is also translate. So if you do grab some text, you can go search a Lens and you can translate it that way as well when you're using the Lens little built-in bit of a Chromebook, or you can use the mobile app.
Now I'm going to hit this button and now hopefully this will replace.
screen
Okay, so you guys can see my screen there on my phone,
Yes,
correct?
indeed.
Okay, so I'm just going to go into Google Translate like this. So where it works really well is on a phone. So like, I'm doing a translation here between English and Polish. I know a few words in Polish, but I can put this into conversation mode like that. And you can see down the bottom of the screen now, it's got Polski and English. So it's actually doing a translation. So if I was to say something in Polish, it would translate to English. And if I say it in English, it's going to do it in Polish.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can say, just listening to me. Dzień dobry. Co słychać? Why is it not listening? Oh, I think because I'm on a meet call, it's not, my microphone is
maybe.
Yeah, it's not letting
Try switching. Let's mute this one and switch your mic on. Here we go. Yeah, I think because we're screen sharing, I may have.
Yeah, because we're screen sharing, it's not liking the fact that and I actually did this one time. I was on a train in Sydney and there was a Chinese lady on the train and she clearly spoke no English and I know Chinese. I mean, and I have Chinese.
You don't have Chinese.
I don't know Chinese.
Yes.
And she was clearly distressed about something and I was trying to help her and I couldn't communicate. And I went, oh, wait. And I pulled out my phone, put it in this mode. I said it in English. It said it in Chinese. She said it in Chinese. I heard it in English. And we were literally talking to each other through the phone. Yeah, it's a really neat thing.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. So it's just in the app like that.
And so Lens has a bunch of stuff built in, like I showed you there before on that screen share. So when you have Lens on your phone, you can grab text, you can grab an image, and also you can do that translate function as well. So a whole lot of really cool language-based stuff built into a whole lot of things that I guess you kind of don't really think are a language tool. But yeah, I heartily suggest having a good look in Lens. It's a very, very useful thing. There's also a shopping tab. So if you take a photo of your shoes, you can go to the shopping tab and it can tell you where to buy them, which is handy. Which is not anything to do with language, but just a handy tool.
It is. Do you want to introduce Lens a little bit more while I go and try and make this work again?
Yeah, totally.
Doing stuff on your phone is always interesting when you're on a call, right?
It really is. It really is. So that Lens idea is, Lens has also come up with for doing homework. If you want to take a photo of a homework problem, you can do that, and it will give you solutions a lot like what you would have seen with the recently released practice sets. So Lens lives on your phone as an app. It also lives inside your Chromebook as that right click or that alt click as well. So some really interesting ideas there that you can use Lens for.
So what I'm going to try and do, I don't know if this will work, Steve, but we'll give it a shot. So you can see my phone on the screen there. I'm going to go into my camera, right? So this is my phone camera. You can see there. There's Steve.
Right,
there's me.
That's me. Right.
If I go down the bottom here, now I'm on an Android phone. This could look slightly different on an Apple phone, but it's going to be there somewhere, right? So if I go to the Lens button here, right? So my camera is now seeing something. If I point this at something, and one of the things that's got down the bottom, you see it says homework. If I switch that to homework, I can actually take a photo of a homework question. So right down the screen here, I've just put a little maths problem there. Let's do this one. 4x plus 5 equals 13. What is x? If I take a photo of that, what it then does is it gives me a thing about how to solve my problem. So it brings up there that 4x plus 5 equals 13. So subtract the 5 from both sides, do the simplification, subtract the numbers to get 8, divide both sides by the same factor, and then simplify and gives them the answer x equals 2. So by taking a photo of that, it's actually realized that that's a maths problem and is able to make suggestions for me about how I solve that. So it's not infallible, like it doesn't solve everything, but it's actually pretty cool what it can solve.
Totally, yeah. And again, so that's built into that Lens app, which is so useful.
Yeah.
So again, it gives you one of those, ask 3 before me.
Have we got a plant somewhere? I'm going to go and try and identify a plant.
Plant?
Plant.
New Zealand, yeah.
Plant.
I don't think we have any real plants in here.
Oh, okay.
You might have to wander out. Oh, if you wander back out into the main space, you probably could.
But you can see down the bottom there, I've got a translate icon. So if I had something written in another language, and I don't know whether I still have something here, but I still got that Wikipedia thing I do. So if I point my phone at that language, you can see it actually just translates on the fly. So, I pull that phone away and I point back at that page, it actually overlays the English language words on top of the Esperanto words. If I turn my phone sideways, you can see there it goes. So it actually, that's not really sideways for you. But yes, so Lens is should be built into your phone if it's an Android phone. If it's an Apple phone, I think it's a separate app.
It's a separate app. Yeah, you grab that.
Yeah. So there you go. So just wanted to show you Lens. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. I'm going to try and stop sharing my phone screen if I can figure out how to do that now. Leave that call. And we'll go back to our shared screen.
Take your slides there.
Which is where it's here.
Back in your slides.
Oh.
Don't start another call.
Let's start another
We're having
call.
such a shock with me at the moment.
Let's not do that.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice. Do that.
Where am I going? Here.
Yeah. You're already sharing. You're on the screen. You're good.
Oh, right. Okay. Of course. How do I make that big?
Let's go. It's just the way we've got our screen set up.
Oh, right.
So
This is big for you. You guys can see my screen, yeah? Yep. If it's small, just pin it. Just put a little pin in the middle of it to make it big. All right, let's go through a couple of things. What's new with Google? There's been a couple of things that are new to talk about. One is, I think, big news for most Australian teachers. Probably Kiwis don't really care too much, but
not too much.
Foundation fonts for Australian teachers. So I know Australian teachers are required, especially early years primary teachers, required to use certain fonts to teach handwriting and reading to young students. One of the problems is those fonts have not been available in Google Docs. Which has meant people have to go back to Word if they want to create a worksheet or some sort of activity for their kids. One of the things now is it is now available in Docs.
Fantastic, Juliet. Good
excellent
work.
So if I just open up a new Google Doc, and remember our nice little trick here, docs.new, if we go into there, create a new doc. Get rid of this thing on the side here that Steve's opened up. If I now go into the drop-down menu here, you can see I now have EDU, New South Wales, ACT, Foundation font. So this is the Foundation font you need. The way you can put these in here, if that's not showing up in your list, is just go to the More Fonts option at the top there and just type, the easiest way to do it is to type EDU, because all of these fonts are prefixed with the abbreviation EDU for education, and you can see they all show up there. So if I want the Queensland beginner, for example, I just tick that one. I'm going to put them all in because I can, right? So if I tick them all like that, now I have all the state fonts available to me, and I say okay. Now when I want to type something, hello, I might make that a little bit bigger. Oops, sorry, fat fingers. There you go. So if I take a word now, if I go to my font list, you can see I actually have all of those fonts available to me as well. So I can get New South Wales Foundation font. There you go. That's how you're supposed to write if you're an early years reader. Yes, Dan, it is Victorian. So if I go in there and I go back to that list, Vic, W-A-N-T. Apparently all those states all use that same font. There you go. So they are all there.
Nice, good work.
Dan from Victoria. It's not Dan. No, it's not. Different Dan.
Yeah, different.
Okay, good. Excellent. So that's exciting news if you're an Aussie teacher. We've been waiting for that for quite a long time.
No, we don't, Craig. As long as you're right, we're good.
Okay, so that's the first thing just to talk about. It's kind of a big deal if you're an Aussie teacher. The second thing that I thought was interesting, Steve, was text formatting in Google Forms.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a while. We've had it inside Google for a little while, but it's now available outside of Google. So I've made a little sample here. I've called it formatting. See what I did there?
Nice,
formatting.
Nice.
So you can now do so when you go into a text field now in Google Forms, when I click in there, you see you get this little row of buttons that appears underneath it.
Yeah.
So now if I want to make a word bold or italic or something, I can come in here and actually do that inside Forms,
Nice.
which you've not been able to do before.
No.
And what I realized it opens up is the description field.
Wow,
So in a form where you go to the three dots and you turn on the description field, you've always been able to add like a subtext to a question to clarify it.
Yeah.
But you've been limited to one line, or
Right,
one line. You can write as much as you like, but you can't have a line break.
Okay.
So now that you can do line breaks, you can actually create paragraphs
Oh, wow.
of text. So those look completely different now. And up here in the top section of the form where you have this introductory bit, you can now write whatever you want there. And if you put a link in there, you can actually hide the link behind a piece of hyperlink text as well, which before you couldn't.
Yeah.
So that looks pretty good. And then when you preview it, it looks like that. So I think it makes your forms look really much more readable, much easier to sort of take it all in.
And also a lot of people want to kind of highlight the instruction words in there as well. So really useful that way.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing in terms of formatting is partly you can now format inside the boxes like that, but also if you go to the customize theme button up here, you should find you can now also change the particular typeface or font that's involved in the headers, the questions, and the text. So if you need a specific font, so for example, maybe you want it New South Wales Foundation font, we can do that. So you can go and change all that for all of those. Let's do that, right? So if you needed to create your Google Forms using the quote correct font, you can now do that as well, and you can change the size as well. I did notice the foundation font stuff is a little on the small side, just because of the design of the font, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so formatting in fonts, formatting in forms is now doable. I like it.
And, I mean, we've got to shout out all the work you've been doing, Chris, with getting those fonts actually in there. It's been about 2.5 year journey for Chris to actually get those fonts sorted out. And what Chris doesn't know about fonts probably isn't worth knowing. So if you got a couple of hours spare, ask Chris about the fonts journey at some point.
I will tell you one fun fact about fonts that I didn't know, and that is, so there's a typeface, which is what a particular piece of writing looks like, and there's a font, which is its computer generated implementation.
Gotcha.
So when most people talk about, I like that font, what they really mean is I like that typeface.
Okay.
The font is just the piece of software that runs on your computer.
Wow. Okay.
Here's the interesting thing: a typeface can't be copyrighted.
Okay.
A font can, because it's computer code.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So if you go and take someone else's software and use it, you're stealing their intellectual property.
Right.
But if you rebuild something from scratch,
own the typeface.
You can't own the typeface.
Gotcha.
You can't know what it looks like. So that was one of the big legal challenges we sort of got around by building these new fonts.
Nice.
Q&As in Google Meets. You probably know that if you're in a Google Meet like we are now, we could create a Q&A. We allow you guys to answer questions or conduct a poll. And I don't know if you're going to try and do that.
I was just going to quickly check the chat in there.
You now got an option to do anonymous Q&A, which is something people have been requesting for a while. That's a simple one, but a nice one to know about. If you're using Spaces, which is Google's chat feature, you can now do larger spaces. So if you go into Google Chat, there's the chat section. And I don't know whether I've got something I can show here or not. I guess I can show that screen, yeah. So you've got the chat section here where you can create chats with people or small groups of people. But then you've got this other section called Spaces. And Spaces is where you can create like chat rooms with lots of people in them.
Great for a team chat.
Yeah, team chats, group chats, all that sort of stuff. Up until now, you've only been able to have 400 people. Only 400 people in a space. As of now, I believe the limit is 8,000.
8,000,
yeah. So 8,000 people in a Spaces chat, which means you can start to use it now for things like school-wide, because you probably don't have more than 8,000 students.
No, you hope not.
I hope not. So you can use it for much larger purposes.
Totally.
In fact, you might remember we did a product called Currents, which was like a sort of a group chat space thing, and that's being deprecated, and everything, all the functionality is being moved over into Spaces.
And the nice thing about it is it all lives down there on the left-hand side in your Gmail as well. So everything's kind of in that one place to have a look at things in.
I know we sort of introduced this sort of side panel here in Gmail a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I thought it was just a minor redesign. This has totally changed the way I use email. 100%. This is the number one biggest change that I've seen us make in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then finally, this one, embed your schedule booking page. So I think last month or the month before, we probably showed you how you can go to Google Calendar and create an appointment schedule. Okay. And that's like a scheduling page where external parties can come and drop an appointment time on your calendar in designated time slots.
Which is those purple bars there, aren't they?
Which is those purple bars, yeah. Some people said to me that they couldn't get that. They were still seeing appointment slots, which is the old one. And then I realized that you've got to go to the settings, the settings for calendar, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. And there's actually a checkbox at the bottom there that says create schedules instead of slots. So if you're still seeing the old appointment slots, just go in there and tick that box, and it will now show for your appointment schedules.
Nice.
So that's not the new thing, because that's been there for a couple of months now. What's new is that if you go into those appointment slots, you've got this share button here. So the share button now, it used to be you could share the link. So if you wanted to give someone the link to your like the page that they book on, but now you've got a website embed. So if you wanted to make that booking page appear on, say, a Google site, you can do that. So let's do this single booking page. I've actually got two things running here. I'm just going to pick one of them. I'm going to do the inline booking page. So you can take that code, copy that code like that. And then if I went to, say, a Google site, and I don't know if I've got one here, so I'll just go sites.new, because that's how you do everything, right?
Exactly.
So, and then you can come down here and hit this embed button.
So you mean you've just built a website, Chris, with one click?
Yeah, I know, right? So I stick that embed code in there like that and say next. And now what it does is it will insert that calendar directly on that calendar booking thing directly onto my Google Sites page. And I think I can make that probably wider. Yeah, I can.
And the great thing about this scheduler is that if there are no available slots because you're doing other stuff, people can book over the top of other things because it won't let them do it.
Yeah, so if you go and preview see what that looks like now, that now on your Google Sites page, it actually has the booking calendar directly in your site. So, you know, if you had to like using sites for a school website or you know, a year group website or something, and, I don't know, parent teacher nights, you could drop schedules in there.
It's often nice with a site to have all your stuff in one place. So you might have your calendar somewhere, you might have your appointment schedule, have one link where people can go and see stuff.
Oh, and it works. And well, I haven't tried this, but
it resizes for mobile. Yeah,
resizes for mobile.
So there's actually a new mobile version of that page as well. So there's been a bit of work in making it actually quite elastic and mobile responsive. Yeah.
So there you go. So that is pretty much all we're going to cover today. So there's a few new things. We hopefully gave you some ideas about using arts and culture, about using Translate, Google Lens, and some of the new stuff that's coming.
I just noticed Dan asked a question about the appointment schedule. That's available to everybody. Dan, that's not a paid version. It is in the fundamentals.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, sorry, we're a little manic today. It's been a crazy day. Steve and I have both been busy running the Energizer event for some of our education communities. We've brought all of our innovators, trainers, coaches, GEG leaders, reference schools. They're all here in the office today. And so we've been kind of going at it all day. So
it's been great. If ever you wanted a good reason to become a trainer or innovator, being part of this community is definitely one. I think being part of our trainer and innovator community today just reinforces the amazing talent we have out there in this community that you have available to tap into as well. So, find a trainer or innovator and ask them some questions, because they are the people to talk to.
Absolutely. So thanks everyone for joining us today. There is just a link on the screen there if you want to share the word about these webinars. We do them once a month. We're normally a little more organized than we have been today, but that's okay. Hopefully you still got something out of it. Next month we're talking about multimedia production and tools for creativity. So we'll be looking at things like movie making, audio production, book publishing, all that sort of stuff. And as usual, we like to focus on things that work in the land of Google.
That's it.
And in particular on Chromebooks. So we're going to be looking at some of these multimedia tools that work really well on Chromebooks. And there are some really great ones. So that's what's coming up. And if you want to access any of our past webinars, you can get them there at bit.ly/AUNZ_webinars. I have a feeling we might be getting a new home for that website.
We may be. Chris may have a little project in the works to flash it up even more. So watch this space. Hopefully we'll have a nice little shiny new space for that very, very soon.
Yeah, that site there was always just kind of cobbled together, but our good friends in marketing have decided that maybe we should have a nicer one.
So you're going to help us out.
That would be good. And just finally, if you would like a PD certificate for coming and spending the last a valuable hour of your time with us today, if you just head over there to bit.ly/GFE certificate, capital G, capital E, you can fill in the form. It's an honour system, so whatever number you put in there will be whatever number's on your form, and it will send you a certificate thanks to the magic of Autocrat. All right, and that wraps us up. If anyone has any questions, now is the time.
I will stop the recording, so if you feel like you want to ask a question after we have stopped, then feel free to do that. No, I'm going to do it on this one because it didn't like me last time I tried to do that. That's my recording, and let's stop my recording and say ka kite, folks, and thanks for joining.